Hello, thanks for joining me, Nancy with North Star Ministry. Before I head out, I just wanted to share a little bit. I'm going to get back into the book of the Revelations later on today, but I'm heading on out. But before I do that, I just want to share this morning. I try to have a little protein before I leave the house. It just carries me throughout the whole day, and I'm not really big on fast foods. I mean, yes, on occasion, I might stop at a drive-through, mostly for a cup of coffee, but I mean, it's very, very rare. So I usually try to fix my own, provisions. And I always make sure that I have provisions in my vehicle too, because as we read in the book of the Revelations and all the other books as well, it's all pertaining to the time of the end that we're in now. All these things happen. All these things are written for our admonition upon whom the ends of the world are come, right? So that we know that in our day, the day that we're in now is equated as it was in the day of Joseph, when he was raised up as governor of Egypt, second to Pharaoh, and he was given the task of putting food back and for provisions for the people, because he had that prophetic dream. There was going to be, he interpreted Pharaoh's dream. There was 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine. And that 7 years of famine is equating to our day, this time of Jacob's trouble. It's a time of, it was altogether a picture of the end of that third day, the horse of the apocalypse, when there was a call for everyone to come out of the churches, my people, come out of her, my people, because it was the black horse. The abomination of desolation was there. There wasn't any food. It was all about food. There was a famine of the hearing of God's word within those places. And those places are typifying the land of Canaan, the land flowing with milk and honey, the promised land, right? Okay, the corporate end time churches. All right, so Jacob had to come out. Him and his sons, they were directed by Joseph to come out and to go into Egypt, where he would sustain their lives. He was the one that had put all that food back, the parched corn and so forth. He was typifying Christ, who was feeding his people out, out of their, out in the wilderness, where they had to come, all right, for salvation, for life, all right, for their lives to be sustained. Okay, so in our day, fast forward, we've entered into this fourth horseman of the apocalypse. It's the same time. It is the time of spiritual nighttime on earth, and it's the time of Jacob's trouble, all right? Because at everybody had till the tail end of that third day to come out, and then there's a big change. Then there's just a big change. But anyway, what I wanted to share with you about this morning is that I was really happy that I put back food in the day that Obama was president, because I thought it was the end of the world. No, I'm just, kidding around. I mean, I'm sure he's a very nice man, all right? Handsome and nice and, charismatic and all of those things, right? I mean, we know that the devil's a handsome, that's the handsome devil. Okay, that's where you get that term, handsome devil. I mean, Lucifer was, in heaven before he was kicked out, and you know how he tempted Eve, and got her to engage with Adam in that way. Okay, I'm just saying, it is what it is. But I mean, that's where all temptation comes from, right? Okay, but I'm saying that aside from that, I thought it was the end of the world. I began putting back food. I began canning like crazy. I've shared this before, but this morning, usually when I have roasted chicken, because I like to have a little bit of protein, okay, and I usually have it with a couple of oranges, little, cuties, those little oranges, tangerines. But I didn't have any this morning, so I thought, well, you know what? I will take a jar of my applesauce. So I took a whole jar of applesauce that I canned in 2014. And you see it's all brown, because I always cook my applesauce with a lot of cinnamon and nutmeg and a little touch of brown sugar, but very, very little. I mean, and I canned this, and I tell you what, I put it in a saucepan and I cooked it until it was like I like to make it bubble and boil so that because I added lemon juice to it when I canned it, but I like all the bitterness, whatever bitterness, because after it sits for years, So, and it all dissipated and evaporated. And then I went to have a bowl, and it was like the day I canned it. I kid you not, it was delicious. It was delicious, and I just wanted to let you know as I get excited when I test one of my jars, and I find that it is absolutely wonderful. From 2014, here we are, 2026. That jar was perfect, and I had it and enjoyed it with my chicken this morning. And I wanted to talk about that because the importance of putting back a few provisions, especially if you have children, young children. My kids are grown, but I mean, I still put back for I always consider them, include them in whatever I'm doing. But, and I haven't canned in quite a long time, but I've gone through like my supply. Who knew I was going to have this hardship that I had? People everywhere around, a whole group and network of people will be doing witchcraft and spell work to bind my finances, right? Which it's a new cycle. So all that is over with. Oh, I'm not in that cycle anymore. But, it's just funny. Who knew? Who knew? And there were times when I relied on my products that I did that made it wonderful. I didn't even go without at all the whole entire time. A total blessing from Almighty God. I give God all the glory, praise, and honor. I mean, it was an absolute blessing. But you could put back carrots. Like if you're like me, you like your carrots a little bit on the sweeter side. I added nutmeg, cinnamon, and a little bit of brown sugar also to my carrots. So they're absolutely wonderful. And I told you about my cherries. I have enjoyed them with crepes, with cake as a pie filling. I have enjoyed these with pancakes. I mean, I canned them in Frangelico and Amaretto, different batches, with different liqueurs, but they're absolutely perfect and wonderful. And I've enjoyed, and sometimes, I've gone through my cans of chicken, and I did a lot of chicken back then, and I went through practically all my jars of chicken on pastas and on rice, and it was as the day it was that I canned it. I'm kidding. I have not come across one jar that was not wonderful. I truly haven't. Every one of them. So I am speaking firsthand. This is firsthand knowledge. Take it from the horse's mouth. If you're thinking about putting back food, I highly recommend getting you some mason jars and learning how to can some chicken. I did beef goulash. I did other things too, just beef. And even if you don't cook, you can go to one of these stores that have bulk bins of already dried fruits that are already dried. Banana chips. You can do banana chips, and that's a no-brainer. You just throw them in there with an oxygen absorber or with a little vacuum, the seal. You can put the little, some of these food savers have the vacuum seal device, you just stick the head on there and then suck all the air out and you're done. And, but yeah, that's from 2015. I put back banana chips. You could do raisins, you could do figs. I did a lot of onion, because who doesn't like onion if you're having a soup, and if you have to. This is from 2013, those years of Obama and coming out of the Clinton era, coming out of the Bush era even. I mean, during those times, these people had an agenda. They were setting up those FEMA camps. I remember I was canning like crazy. I can laugh about it now, but the truth is we've entered into spiritual nighttime on the 3D. And so now more than ever, it's a good idea to think about, especially if you have young children, putting some food back. And preserving them. But I'm here to tell you that even in 2026, I just opened that jar of applesauce from 2014, and it was perfectly wonderful, like the day I canned it. No kidding. Now you can have applesauce. Can you think if you have young children and you're in dire straits with no food? I mean, bare minimum, have some oatmeal, ground up oatmeal, pulverize it to make where you make oat flour. Add your cinnamon in there, your salt, your you can even add some brown sugar in there. Just get it all mixed up and have it ready to go. Take the brain work out of it so that it's done. And then have some jars of applesauce. This jar of applesauce would feed like, there's enough in here to feed like 7, 8 people. There's enough, cups in here to go alongside a hot oatmeal. So that's a comfort food, and that is a meal. So I'm just saying, I recommend, doing that. Now, if you don't have mason jars or a dishwasher, or, and you want to just deal with drying things, you can certainly take chicken like I did here. You could take your chicken, lay it out on trays and dry it. You could take a couple of rotisserie chickens from Costco or Sam's. They sell them relatively cheap even now. And you can debone it completely. You can take a huge skillet and make a big batch of Spanish rice. And I say Spanish rice because you can throw your tomato sauce in there, a bag of vegetables in there, your garlic, your onion, your chicken. Get it all in there. And make your rice, okay? And once it cools completely, put it on those dehydrator trays and dry that up. Dry it up completely bone dry and put it in those Mylar bags, and you have several meals, all right? Throw in a couple of oxygen absorbers, maybe 2 or 3 in each one, and then use your iron from your ironing board. If you still iron, I don't know. I don't own an iron. I don't ever iron, but I used to back in the day when I was married. But you can iron those seals shut just with a regular iron. You don't need any fancy equipment, and you're done. And throw that thing in a wherever you want to store it or keep it. But those will keep for 25 years instead of ordering all these expensive foods. You can do your own. You can do your own. I just wanted to share that, I hope it's helpful. I've always been kind of a prepper. I don't leave my home without provisions in my vehicle. If you're ever stranded somewhere, you don't know how that's going to be. You don't know how long you'll be stranded for, but you always take water with you. The back of my car, every time I go, I always make sure I have bananas, apples, oranges, nuts, raisins. I always throw that in there. Crackers, a jar of peanut butter. Once it expires, if you never use it, you can hand it out to someone that's homeless, that doesn't have anything. A lot of times that's what I wind up doing. I always have something to give to someone who doesn't have. All right. And always have water back there as well. That'll help you in the long run, wherever you go. But if you're like me, you go on day trips. Like today, I'm going on a day trip too. I'm handing out my prayer guides and engaging and talking with people wherever I go. All right. So on a day like this, I always like to make sure I have some provisions, and I'll boil water to put in an air pot, so I have hot coffee on the way as well. When I get back to my car after a long walk, I like to enjoy a hot cup of coffee and maybe some crackers or some raisins, just a snack. And especially after I go for my 10,000 step walk at the park or wherever it is I go, I always like to, I enjoy a hot drink or just some water, at least bare minimum, some water. And so I just wanted to give that out as an idea of what you could do, especially if you have young children. Keep them in mind. It's important. All right. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to head out now. God bless you and have a wonderful day. I'll be back with the Book of the Revelations a little bit later. Peace out, everybody. Bye.